conductive particles would distance themselves from each other, increasing the resistance. But when the sensor is straight, the conductive particles are closer together, making the resistance a lower value. So this is measured by the Arduino when you move your finger. And the Arduino assigns a value to the resistance between 0 and 9. And then this is all sent to the robot. And when the robot gets it, it receives the code and creates a command that the motors can use. And then when the motors use it, they'll move accordingly. So what we want to do. So one of the challenges we face is where do we put the sensors? So there are 4 motors in the robot. There's one to control the left wheels, there's one to control the right wheels, there's one to control the arm, and there's one to control the claw. So this was our original idea of placing them. We thought that when you move this finger forward, it moves the left wheels forward. When you move this one forward, move the right wheels forward. If you wanted to move forward, you do this. Backward, you do this. And if you wanted to move the claw, if you wanted to open and close it, you do this to open it, this to close it. The arm, if you wanted to raise it, you put this up. And if you wanted to make it go down, you do this. But there was a problem with this. It was extremely hard to move your wrist without moving your finger. If you try yourself, then you can't really keep your finger still without moving your wrist, while moving your wrist. So that was really hard, and that is not going to be good. So we decided to move the claw and the arm to your 4th finger, so you can have this natural movement, and you can still keep your finger still while you do it. So let's say you're going forward. You would have to move these two sensors forward. But how would you send multiple of these commands to the robot at the same time? Well, basically, this is how you would do it. Our method was to combine all of the values between 0 and 9 and into one large number and send that to the robot. So say your values were 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then the number you would send would be 1,234. But when the robot gets this, how does it split it into 1, 2, 3, and 4? Well, this is basically what it does. So let's say that you wanted to get 1. Well, if you look at the very top, divide 1,234 by 1,000, you'll get 1.234. And basically, we use this rounding function to get 1 from it, which will just remove all the decimals. So then that's how you get 1. If you wanted to get 2, you would just subtract 1,000 from 1,234. You get 2.34. Use the same function, and you would then get 2. So this is how we